a word that has been on my heart of late a lot. Is a word from John chapter 21. It's a very, very famous passage, but it speaks of such grace. John chapter 21, which starts off afterward. After what? After his death on the cross, after his glorious resurrection, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathanael, and 2 other disciples were together, about 7 guys. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them, and they said, "We'll go with you." So they went out and got into the boat, and that night they caught nothing. Just before going on, a little bit of context. These are turbulent times. This is a nation invaded by the Romans, of which we love normally, but they had an empire, and they weren't too kind in their empires. These were turbulent times. Imagine being invaded by a hostile force, so not easy times. And then there is hope and light. Someone comes and says, "The kingdom of God is among you." And things start to happen, and miracles happen, and bread is multiplied, and water is turned into wine, and teaching is given. Love your enemies, forgive those who hurt you. What is this? Simon Peter and the others were amazed, and in there with lots of difficulty and lots of challenge and not understanding. Yes, we will follow. And they left everything. They left their nets and they decided to follow. But then what happened? This man, Jesus, was arrested and he was killed. And can you imagine that? All your hope in this person, and then he gets killed. We just heard this last month, a friend who went out to minister to someone in Argentina whose wife died at Christmas. And he had just replaced somebody in a ministry who also had died. And then somebody else close died. I can't imagine. It is difficult enough, as we all have been through it, I'm sure. One person dying. But we just had a friend, a Christian brother, who 3 close people died. That must have been turbulent. Because death is turbulent. And this happened to Simon Peter. Him and his friends were placing their trust in this person, and then he got arrested, and then he got killed. And even on a cross he was saying, "Forgive those, they know not what they're doing." What is this? And then can you imagine those 3 days after that? This person, man, God incarnate, maybe didn't quite understand that at that time. He's dead. The desolation and the despair, the despondency that must have hit them. And then he has risen. They see him. He's risen from the dead, and they rush to the tomb, and yes, it's true. And then he appears. And so you can just imagine the mind of Peter. I thought this was the hope. And then he dies. And then I'm so depressed, and now he's risen. What's happening? And I can't handle this anymore, this God stuff. It's beyond me. And then he goes, what else can he do? What would you do? Can't handle this. I'm going away. I'm just do the thing I know what to do. I'm going fishing. And so they all say that. Yes. Wow. Not sure what's happening here. And they all go fishing. And just the midst of what's happening. And if you just read the passage before this, you've got the episode of Thomas. He's kind of doubting. What is that? Is this really true? And so just all these disciples, just probably the emotions are just going all over the place. And just added to that, just to throw one more thing, Peter, who said, "Yeah, I will follow you to the end." And we know what happened to him around a certain charcoal fire. He denied his Lord 3 times. And so he also has guilt thrown into it. No much wonder he went off fishing. And I don't know where we're at. Sometimes we're like that, aren't we? Just life, whatever life throws at us. And it just throws us. And we don't know what to do. What shall we do? Shall we go fishing? Just for a rest, or just to get my head together, or whatever. And that's what he does. We'll go with you, they said. They went out and they got into the boat. Yes, we're going to catch fish, and we know about this stuff. We'll do this. And that night, they caught nothing. Oh no, not even this. We don't even know how to fish. We thought we did, not even that. So you can just imagine this is really probably hit pretty well close to rock bottom, I would say, these guys. And then, verse 4. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore. Sometimes it's at those points that Jesus comes to us and stands at the shore of our lives. Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples at that point did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" Said, this guy's having a laugh. No, they answered. And he said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." Well, nothing else to do. When they did it. And they were unable to haul the net in because of a large number of fish. So Jesus just appears there, and they don't recognize him, and he calls out, and, well, the other side, try the other side. Nothing else to do. And yet, their nets started to burst with the quantity of fish. Then the lights went on. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved, John, said to Peter, "It's the Lord." As soon as Peter heard him say, it is the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from the shore, about 100 yards. And when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals or charcoal, and there was fish on it and some bread. And Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have caught." Simon Peter climbed aboard and dragged the net ashore. It's full of large fish, 153, and even with so many the net was not torn. And Jesus said to them, "You useless bunch of..." "Come and have breakfast." Can you imagine? This is the Lord incarnate, resurrected, saying, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was him. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. I mean, really what's happened, the past is all that despondency, all that confusion, and all that guilt on the one level, all those emotions going all over the place. That's the past. That's what they've known. The tough times. And they're still living it. And also in that past, there just happened a miracle. A miracle has just happened. So, and it's true, isn't it? In our past, there's this tough times. There's also good times, isn't there? Maybe when we've seen the Lord at work. But it's like the Lord saying, whatever has happened in the past, be it terrible, be it confusing, be it despondent, or be it you've seen me and you've seen my touch, I am welcoming you now. This is like the present moment. Jesus on the shore welcoming his disciples now. And this is the face of God to us. I don't know what you think if you think of the face of God. I know sometimes we think just a scowling old man maybe, just ready to beat us up at the first mistake. This is not the picture of God, is it? This is someone with grace. This is someone who's made a fire, who's taken trouble to make the fire. Once I was doing an outreach and a mission in Athens, and we were camping, and just as quite a new believer, and a leader said, "Can I make you some coffee, David?" And it wasn't just boiling kettle. This was, going, getting a stove, getting water. It was Greek coffee, so you had to sort of put it in this funny thing, and had to boil up once, had to boil up another time, and all the grounds go to the bottom, and then It took like half an hour in a campsite to get there. Oh, wow, thank you. And the next day, this same leader said, Dave, do you want a coffee? Yes, that's amazing. And he asked me, I can't remember, 3 or 4 times. I thought, I should be doing this for you, yet you graciously taking all that. You're a leader with lots of things to sort out, and you making this coffee for me and taking all the time. And that kind of, it's like Jesus, This is God incarnate. This is the resurrected Lord. So I'm taking time. I'm making that charcoal and the fish, and it takes time. And I just see the smile of God on the face of Jesus with open arms saying, come and have breakfast. And that is Jesus, and that is God in the present for us. We are here at a table about to take bread and to take wine. Jesus broke the fish and gave it to them. It's just like him saying now, whatever's happened in the past, be it bad or be it good, all I want for you, as the prophecy we have just heard, is come to me now and eat. That's all I want. I want to be with you. I want to sit with you. I want to talk to you. I want you to talk to me. Come. The simple words. Can you imagine God saying, come and have breakfast. Just sit down and rest and be at peace and receive from me. And that's what God says to us in this present moment. Come and have breakfast. Unbelievably. And in this act of just breaking the bread, I think a few lights went on. I think I remember a breaking of some fish earlier. Oh yes, he multiplied the bread and the wine. Oh yes, God has been with me. Yes, it's tough, and it's tough at the moment, but I remember that. And so even in the present, oh wow, this is the Lord who has been faithful and there for me. And just one other thing in this present is this little fire, this little charcoal fire going on here. It's nice to have a fire, isn't it? Especially in winter. I love to see a fire. But I can imagine Peter looking at this fire and thinking, that reminds me of something. And it is actually, in the original language, the Greek language, the same fire, it's a charcoal fire, around which he, a few days earlier, had said, no, I don't know this man. It's exactly the same. It's a charcoal fire. And you can just imagine Peter, yes, oh wow. I have blown this one. I have denied my Lord. But just in Jesus doing that, it wasn't to accuse. It was just to communicate, I forgive you. I still say, come and have breakfast with me. I still say, come. My arms are outstretched in mercy and in love for you. He doesn't cast them away. He says, come and eat breakfast. I know you blew it. I know you're remorseful. But there is forgiveness. Isn't that wonderful? I think even that breaking, it probably reminded them in the Passover meal just a few days earlier as well. Just the breaking of the bread and the wine. My body broken for you. This is the blood of the new covenant poured out for you for forgiveness, for a new start. So Jesus was reinstating Peter. This is not the end. You might think it's the end. It is not. There is forgiveness for you in this moment. There is feeding for you. There is rest for you. There is a welcome, and there is forgiveness and mercy for you in this moment. Will you come and sit and receive? And then there are a few verses that continue that talk about the future. When they'd finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you truly love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, son of Simon, do you truly love me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him a third time, do you love me? He denied him 3 times, and now he's saying, do you love me? He says it 3 times. He knows in his heart, yes, he blew it, but he knows deep down there is a love and a desire to love him more. And so Jesus said, I receive your love. He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. I tell you the truth. When you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted, but when you're old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go. Jesus said to this, to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. But then he said to him, follow me. Jesus turned and saw that the disciple whom Jesus loved was following him. When Peter saw him, he asked, Lord, what about him? Jesus answered, if I want him to remain alive until I return, what is that to you? You follow me. It's like him saying, yes, I love you. I forgive you. There is mercy now. There is also a future for you. I have something for you to do. It is not the end, what you have experienced. It's a feed my lambs. Something that you have received, the mercy that you have received, the love that you have received. You can feed someone. I have a plan for you. And I just love the Lord. Yes, he deals with our past. He forgives us. He cleanses us. He welcomes us today just to feed off him, to enjoy him, to be at peace. And then he fills us with hope for the future. Whatever you've done, Peter, it's in the past. If you give me your life and you follow me, and don't worry about John or what he's asked to do or not asked to do, you follow me, then I can do great things with your life. Whatever we have been through, that is the Lord. He deals with our past. He feeds us now. And he says, I have a calling on your life. I have something that only you can do with your character, your personality, your circumstances. There is someone that you can feed. Whether it's with words, encouragement, whether it's prayer, or a hand outstretched, or in countless other ways that the Lord is wonderful to do. There is something that you can feed another person with what you have received. So there is hope. There is hope in the Lord. That's why this is one of my favorite passages. It is just beautiful. It's just the gospel in its entirety, in 22 little verses, but full of impact, full of emotion, full of everything that life throws us. But Christ coming to us, standing on the shore and saying, come have breakfast with me. So shall we come to a table? It's not quite by the Sea of Galilee. We can't quite organize that this morning. Maybe Margareta could later. But it's a table. It's a table of the Lord with arms outstretched saying, come and have breakfast. Let us receive from the Lord food, nourishment, peace this morning.